The task force investigating the shooting death of an Illinois police officer 2 months ago has concluded his death was a suicide. Chicago station WBBM reports investigators have determined Fox Lake Police Lieutenant Charles Joseph Glinowitz, known in his community as G.I. Joe, shot himself with his own gun. We're looking for a news conference Wednesday morning to announce significant new information in his death. We have Brad Edwards from WBBM outside the police department in Fox Lake. All right, tell me what you are learning at this point, Brad.
Hi, Cadessa, how are you? Well, this has really been a question that has perplexed, that has transfixed this community for nearly 2 months now. The shooting happened on September 1st. Lieutenant G.I. Joe Glinowitz made one last final radio call that he was chasing 3 suspicious subjects, 3 suspicious men, 2 white, 1 black. That was his final radio call. Then he was shot twice, shot once in his bulletproof vest, once in his chest, and it has been an investigation since day one, despite a lot of red flags popping up early on. It has been a homicide investigation. There have been kind of circling and snowballing questions over the past few weeks. Of course, it's got a lot of national media attention initially, but after it went quiet for so long, after those first few days, there really started to build just an enormous amount of questions about whether there be personal troubles in his life, whether there be professional problems here at the Fox Lake Police Department that had seen the loss of its chief. He stepped down shortly before this incident happened. And now we have finally learned, according to sources, this is not confirmed definitively by the task force, but sources are telling us they have determined that his death was indeed a suicide, and we are told at some point in time tomorrow, not only will they outline that determination at a press conference, but then detail meticulously what they have learned and what they have discovered over this past 2 months. A long wait here for those here in Fox Lake. And if you're looking behind me, this is the Fox Lake Police Department. There is really no sign here tonight, no sign at all that this is the home of a fallen officer, let alone that there are 3 fugitives on the loose. And they pretty much packed up the makeshift memorial here several weeks ago. This was kind of a foregone conclusion to a lot of those in media circles who had learned a lot of information, been able to glean a lot. But now we believe we'll officially hear it tomorrow. Not only that, but we're told some pretty salacious details surrounding the potential why this happened.
Okay, so as we wait for the official announcement, let me take you back to that day that he was shot. We were watching it, and the manhunt that erupted after they found his body there in these woods. We're showing the video right now. Did they recover the officer's own weapon?
Okay, here's what we do now. From that day, take you back here 2 months ago. We were one of the first here on the scene that day, and just kind of speaking to you off the top of my head right now, we only arrived on the scene here about 30 minutes ago to kind of break this news tonight. But we know when authorities did finally hone in on that scene, it's kind of a marshy, backwoods, industrial zone area known to be frequented sometimes by vagrants, known to be frequented and the possible place of a lot of drug deals. They did find, and we learned very on, they did find his police issue handgun on scene. And his was the only gun that was found. No other alleged suspect guns or anything like that. We know Lieutenant G.I. Joe was called that because he was an Army veteran. He was tenacious. He was all about the letter of the law. So the implication there is that somehow he would have had to have been disarmed, which would have surprised many in his inner circle. Now, if you can take a look back at me here live on scene, if you're showing video right now. But then we later learned and weren't able to report right away because we didn't want to put the investigation at jeopardy, that he was indeed shot 2 times. One shot in this area went off his bulletproof vest. so he wasn't wounded per se, went off his bulletproof vest. The second shot, the fatal shot, it would have had to bring down his bulletproof vest and a gunshot that went down like that. Early on, from some who were intimately versed on those details, would have been stunned that he would have been disarmed to the point and taken over and assassinated like that. And the thought of that final shot being like that pointed early on that this was indeed at least a potential suicide. Contessa?
Okay, and so when we are waiting for the official statement from the Fox Lake Police Department, I got to ask, do you know, Brad, in your reporting, what would have been the advantage to the lieutenant committing suicide in a way that made it look like he was killed on the job?
Yeah. And again, we got to preface this all as we're a lot of conjecture right now, so we can't definitively say we know, but we know there is a significant death benefit for his family. We know he loved his family. He loved his 4 boys. There would be a significant insurance benefit for that. And then also immediately following that, tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars was raised for his family for his kids' education after that. And then we also know Lieutenant Joe Glenowitz, G.I. Joe. He was known as G.I. Joe here. He was almost his own character in this very small, almost isolated nook of this county in Illinois. I mean, he was known as Lieutenant G.I. Joe. And those who know him and know the kind of mindset that goes into a guy nicknamed G.I. Joe, he probably wouldn't have gone out on just suicide without potentially raising this ultimate red herring that may have indeed eventually happened.
Brad Edwards from WBBM. Brad, thanks for bringing us the latest news. And again, we wait for Fox Lake Police to come out with their public statement.